Ladies and gentlemen, the people in your life will either lift you up or drag you down. The choice of whom to trust isn't just about finding allies, it's about building a life filled with meaning, momentum, and possibility. We can't afford to trust everyone blindly, yet we can't walk around doubting everyone either. So how do you know who to trust? It's the bedrock of everything you build in life, your career, relationships, partnerships, all these are erected on a foundation of trust. But let me tell you, it's not a foundation that comes automatically. You have to be vigilant, you have to be discerning. The real trick is to watch people closely, not just their words, but their actions. Actions speak louder than words. We live in a world full of promises and grand gestures, but actions tell the real story. Does that person keep their word when things get tough? Do they stand by you when it's inconvenient? Because that's when true character reveals itself, not when it's easy, but when it costs something. But here's the kicker: sometimes we get an uneasy feeling that we can't quite put our finger on. We call it intuition, a gut feeling, and it's there for a reason. Learn to listen to it. It's your inner compass guiding you in ways logic alone can't. I'm not saying act on paranoia, but I am saying pay attention to that subtle voice that whispers when something feels off. Trust deepens when we're willing to be transparent and open. Vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a superpower. When you meet people who are open, real, and unafraid to show their flaws, you know you've met someone worth investing in. They're not hiding behind a facade, they're showing up as they are. This invites genuine connection and trust. But here's a word of caution: don't go handing out trust like it's candy. Guard yourself against blind trust. I know that might sound harsh, but it's one of the biggest ways to protect your heart and inner goals. Trust with awareness, not with naivety. Give people a chance to prove themselves, but don't ignore red flags because you're desperate to believe in someone. Trust yourself first. How can you expect to know who to trust if you don't trust your own judgment? Know your own values, honor your principles, and you'll find it easier to spot those who align with them. When you're rooted in self-trust, the right people find you, they recognize your integrity, and they respect it. It's a choice and a skill. Choose wisely, build that skill, and surround yourself with people who make you better. That's how you thrive. That's how you rise. Because when you know who to trust, you unleash the full power of what's possible in your life. Trust is the unseen force that shapes every meaningful aspect of our lives. It's the hidden foundation beneath every successful relationship, partnership, and community. Without it, we are left navigating a world of doubt and second-guessing, unable to move forward with conviction. I think about any great achievement, any strong bond, any thriving company. Trust is the silent fuel behind it all. When we trust, we open the door to collaboration, innovation, and growth. It's a powerful catalyst, allowing people to come together and invest their time, energy, and talents without fear. When trust is present, teams communicate openly, partners support each other unconditionally, and communities grow stronger through shared goals. It gives us the confidence to delegate, to ask for help, and to rely on others in ways we couldn't if we were constantly guarded or skeptical. In a professional context, trust isn't just a soft, nice-to-have attribute. It's what empowers people to make decisions quickly, to take risks, and to try new things without fear of blame or repercussion. In a family, trust is the glue that holds people together through the roughest times, the quiet strength that makes people feel secure, even when circumstances around them may be chaotic. Trust allows us to be vulnerable and genuine. Without it, every interaction feels like a transaction, measured and weighed with walls that keep others at a distance. But with trust, those walls fall away and people begin to show up authentically, bringing their full selves to the table. Imagine what becomes possible in that environment. Creativity flourishes, innovation thrives, people feel free to share ideas, even if they're a little out there, and to make mistakes without the fear of retribution. This creates an atmosphere of growth where individuals feel not only safe, but encouraged to expand and take bold steps forward. But trust isn't something you can demand or force. It must be earned, nurtured, and honored. It's built brick by brick through consistent actions, through integrity, and through a genuine commitment to follow through. When people see you stand by your word, when they see you make the difficult choice because it's the right one, trust grows naturally. And it's this foundation of trust that keeps us moving forward, even in times of uncertainty. It becomes a guiding force, a steady hand when the world seems shaky. In the absence of trust, we live in a constant state of tension. We're always looking over our shoulder, always questioning motives, always holding back. And in that state, we're not living fully, we're merely surviving. But when we build trust, when we show others through our actions and our integrity that we're there for them, that we're reliable, that we're committed to their well-being, we open up a world of possibility that is rich, fulfilling, and profoundly successful. Trust is the foundation for success, not because it's easy, but because it makes everything else possible. It's what turns dreams into plans, plans into actions, and actions into reality. Evaluating the character and intentions of the people around us is one of the most valuable skills we can develop. It's not about being judgmental. It's about being discerning. It's about taking the time to understand who someone really is beneath the surface, to see beyond the mask they might present, and to gauge their true intentions. This ability to evaluate character helps us build lasting relationships, avoid pitfalls, and align ourselves with people who will uplift us rather than hold us back. Character is the core of a person, the set of values, beliefs, and principles that define how they act, not only when it's convenient, but especially when it's difficult. People can put on a good show when the stakes are low, but the truth of their character emerges under pressure. It's in the small moments and the split-second decisions where we get glimpses of who someone really is. Do they show kindness to those who can't repay them? Do they keep their word even when there's nothing to gain? How do they treat others when they think no one is watching? These are the questions to ask, and the answers are usually revealed in actions, not words. Intentions are equally vital, but they're often harder to read. A person's intention is the purpose behind their actions, the why driving their what. Evaluating intentions requires a combination of observation, intuition, and patience. People might say the right things, but do they follow through when the opportunity arises? Are they looking out for others, or are they only interested in advancing their own agenda? True intentions are rarely declared openly, but they're evident in the subtleties of behavior. They're found in the little gestures, in the way people react to the success or failures of others, and the consistency or inconsistency of their motives over time. In evaluating character and intentions, we must also learn to separate surface traits from deeper qualities. It's easy to be swayed by charm, charisma, and confidence. These traits can be compelling, but they're not indicators of character or integrity. A truly good character isn't always flashy or loud. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and steadfast. People of good character may not stand out at first, but their actions leave a lasting impact. They earn trust gradually through consistent, honorable choices, even if those choices go unnoticed. It's also essential to recognize that everyone makes mistakes, and a single misstep doesn't define a person's character or intentions, but patterns do. We have to look at the overall trajectory of a person's actions and choices. Are they committed to growth and self-improvement? Do they own up to their errors and work to correct them, or do they sweep them under the rug? People who are willing to take accountability, who can genuinely apologize and learn from their missteps, reveal a level of integrity that is rare and invaluable. They show that their intentions are grounded in a commitment to bettering themselves and, by extension, those around them. Sometimes evaluating someone's character and intentions requires patience and giving them the space to reveal themselves over time. If we rush, we might overlook warning signs or assume virtues that aren't there. But by letting relationships unfold naturally, we can see who consistently aligns with our values, who treats others with respect, and who can be counted on when it matters most. When we evaluate character and intentions deeply, we also strengthen our own foundation. We learn to hold ourselves to higher standards, to live with integrity, and to honor our own intentions. This process doesn't just help us choose better relationships, it helps us become the kind of person that others feel safe trusting. Ultimately, the ability to evaluate character and intentions gives us clarity and confidence, leading to relationships that bring us joy, growth, and true connection. It's a skill that sharpens our instincts, protects our hearts, and sets us on a path aligned with people of integrity and purpose. Actions speak louder than words, and this principle cuts to the core of human relationships and trust. It's easy to say the right things, to make promises, or to craft the perfect image with words. But words alone don't build trust, and they don't define character. Actions reveal who we really are, stripping away the layers of pretense and showing our true intentions, commitment, and integrity. Words can charm, but actions validate. They're the evidence of our sincerity and our capacity to follow through on what we say. When someone's words and actions are in alignment, they demonstrate reliability and consistency. They don't have to tell you they're trustworthy because their actions show it over time. In relationships, whether personal or professional, consistency is everything. I think of the people in your life who have shown up for you time and again, who follow through on their promises, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. Their actions make you feel safe, knowing that you can rely on them because they've proven through repeated effort that they are who they claim to be. This alignment is particularly powerful because it is rare. The world is filled with empty promises and grand declarations that fade away at the first sign of challenge. Someone may promise to be there in tough times, but how many actually show up? Promises are easy to make, but they require no sacrifice or effort. Actions, on the other hand, require energy, commitment, and often come at a cost. When someone chooses to act when they show up, work hard, stay late, lend a hand, or keep their word, they demonstrate a level of character that words alone could never convey. There's also a stark honesty in actions that words can't replicate. Words can be carefully chosen, molded to suit the audience, and designed to manipulate or persuade, but actions are far less flexible. They either align with our words, or they don't. And in that alignment or misalignment, truth emerges. If someone says they're supportive but constantly lets you down, their actions tell you a very different story. And if they quietly support you, help you, and back you up without needing praise, their actions prove their loyalty and depth of care far more powerfully than anything they could say. When we're vulnerable, we're inviting others into our human experience, showing them that they're not alone in their struggles or insecurities. This kind of openness creates bonds that are far stronger than those based on an image. I think of the people you feel closest to, the friends, family members, or mentors who've seen you at your lowest and have been there to support you. That closeness didn't come from moments of perfection, but from moments when you were willing to let your guard down and let them see you as you truly are. Vulnerability is also a profound source of growth. When we acknowledge our fears and limitations, we create an opportunity to learn and improve. Instead of pretending we have all the answers, we open ourselves up to feedback, to learning from others, to growing beyond our current limitations. Vulnerability helps us take risks, try new things, and push beyond our comfort zones, knowing that we don't have to have it all together to be worthy or respected. However, both transparency and vulnerability require discernment. Not everyone will be prepared to meet your openness with acceptance or empathy, and it's crucial to exercise good judgment about who you share with. The goal isn't to be transparent or vulnerable with everyone, but to bring these qualities into relationships where trust and mutual respect already exist or are being built. When shared appropriately, transparency and vulnerability can deepen relationships and create a powerful sense of connection and trust. In the workplace, a transparent and vulnerable culture can revolutionize productivity and morale. When leaders model these qualities, they create a ripple effect. Employees feel more comfortable sharing their challenges, speaking up about issues, and collaborating freely. They're less likely to hide mistakes or pretend they know things they don't, which allows the entire organization to learn and adapt faster. Vulnerability in a work environment doesn't mean sharing everything. It means being open about goals, challenges, and where help is needed. This humility builds a culture of support and teamwork, showing that the company values progress and collective success over individual perfection. In our personal lives, practicing transparency and vulnerability encourages authenticity. We no longer feel the need to wear masks or pretend to be something we're not. This authenticity allows us to build relationships based on genuine understanding and shared values rather than superficial appearances. People who accept us when we're vulnerable are the ones we can trust and rely on, and these relationships become the backbone of a meaningful, fulfilling life. The ultimate power of transparency and vulnerability lies in their ability to break down walls. They foster an environment of trust, openness, and growth where people can connect on a level that goes beyond words. By being transparent and vulnerable, we not only allow others to see us, we invite them to be themselves, to embrace their own flaws, and to build relationships grounded in truth rather than illusion. In the end, transparency and vulnerability remind us that we don't have to be perfect to be worthy of connection and respect. They allow us to show up as we are, knowing that true strength comes from honesty, humility, and the courage to let others see us fully. When we embrace these qualities, we don't just build stronger relationships, we create lives filled with genuine connection, mutual support, and a sense of shared humanity. Guarding against blind trust is essential in cultivating healthy, authentic relationships. Trust is a powerful force that can open doors to deep connection, loyalty, and support, but when given without discernment, it can also make us vulnerable to betrayal, manipulation, or harm. Blind trust is placing complete faith in someone without fully understanding their character or intentions. It's often rooted in the desire to believe the best in others, to feel secure, or to avoid facing uncomfortable truths. But trust, to be valuable and lasting, must be built on a foundation of observation, patience, and a careful understanding of who someone truly is. Blind trust can stem from many sources: naivety, wishful thinking, or sometimes a personal history of trusting too easily. Often it's linked to a desire to avoid the uncertainty that comes with truly evaluating a person. It can be easier to put someone on a pedestal and assume they're honest and trustworthy than to face the complexity of human behavior and motivation, but this kind of trust is risky because it's not rooted in reality. It ignores red flags, overlooks inconsistencies, and can leave us blindsided when someone's true intentions emerge. The consequences can be minor, like disappointment, or severe, such as significant personal, financial, or emotional harm. Guarding against blind trust doesn't mean adopting a cynical or overly suspicious attitude. Rather, it's about discerning wisely. It involves taking the time to understand a person's character and observing their actions over time. People may present themselves in a positive light initially, showing us only what they want us to see. This is why, particularly in new relationships or partnerships, it's essential to look beyond appearances and initial impressions. Consistency is key. Trustworthy people will act with integrity over time, showing up consistently in good times and bad, not just when it's convenient. Actions, as always, are the true test of character. While people may speak with conviction, their actions reveal their real priorities, values, and intentions. Blind trust often overlooks these actions, focusing instead on words, charm, or reputation. But when we pay attention to how someone behaves, how they treat others, respond to conflict, or handle responsibility, we gain insights that go far deeper than words alone. Guarding against blind trust means being willing to examine these actions critically, to ask ourselves whether they align with the trust we're giving. It's about understanding that everyone has limitations, blind spots, and imperfections, and that truly trustworthy people are those who strive to act consistently with honesty and accountability. Another critical element of avoiding blind trust is learning to value your own judgment and intuition. Often we overlook red flags because we doubt our gut feelings, or we let others convince us to ignore what we're seeing. We may even second-guess our instincts, believing that we're being too cautious or paranoid, but intuition is a powerful tool that has evolved to help us navigate relationships and protect us from harm. By learning to trust our own perceptions, by valuing our own inner voice, we become better equipped to evaluate others fairly and objectively. This doesn't mean assuming the worst of people, but rather being alert and aware, trusting our instincts when something feels amiss. Setting boundaries is also a powerful way to guard against blind trust. Boundaries help define the limits of our trust, creating safe zones in which we can engage with people without placing ourselves at undue risk. This might mean waiting to share personal information until we've seen consistent behavior, or it could mean keeping certain responsibilities or commitments separate until trust is earned. By establishing boundaries, we allow trust to grow organically rather than jumping in blindly. This approach respects both our well-being and the other person's right to prove themselves over time. Additionally, it's important to remember that trust is not an all-or-nothing concept. We can trust people in certain areas while being cautious in others. For example, we may have a friend we trust deeply for emotional support, but who we wouldn't rely on in financial matters. Guarding against blind trust involves understanding the different dimensions of trust and recognizing that not every relationship has to meet every level of our trust. We can compartmentalize our trust, acknowledging that some people may be reliable in certain situations but not in others, and adjusting our expectations accordingly. Blind trust can also be fueled by idealizing others, especially in romantic relationships or close friendships. We may want to believe someone is perfect or flawless, but this idealization creates unrealistic expectations and blinds us to potential flaws or warning signs. When we idealize someone, we set them and ourselves up for disappointment. Instead, we should seek to see people as they are, with both strengths and limitations, allowing ourselves to evaluate them fairly. Real trust is built on seeing someone fully with both their good and less than perfect qualities and deciding based on a balanced view whether they've earned our confidence. It's also worth considering that people change over time, and so should our assessments of them. Life circumstances, personal growth, or unforeseen challenges can shift a person's priorities or behavior. Guarding against blind trust means periodically reevaluating the trust we place in others, being open to reassessing our relationships as circumstances evolve. A friend or partner who was once trustworthy may go through a period of difficulty that changes their reliability. Likewise, someone who may not have seemed reliable initially could demonstrate growth and commitment over time. By being open to change and reevaluation, we ensure that our trust is always grounded in the present reality. Ultimately, guarding against blind trust is about maintaining a balanced perspective. It's recognizing the goodness in people while being wise enough to understand that actions, not intentions alone, determine trustworthiness. By taking a measured approach, by allowing trust to be earned rather than given unconditionally, we protect ourselves while also giving others the opportunity to demonstrate their reliability. Trust is one of the greatest gifts we can give, and by guarding against blind trust, we ensure it's given wisely in relationships that will nurture and respect it. Learning to trust yourself is foundational for building a life of authenticity, confidence, and resilience. Self-trust is the inner assurance that you can rely on your own judgment, handle challenges, and make decisions that are aligned with your values and goals. When you trust yourself, you become your own anchor, less swayed by external opinions or the ups and downs of circumstances. This self-trust fosters a strong inner core, allowing you to move forward in life with clarity and courage, even in the face of uncertainty. It's the bedrock on which all other trust is built, because if you don't trust yourself, it's difficult to know whom else you should trust. Trusting yourself begins with self-awareness, which involves understanding your strengths, weaknesses, values, and limitations. Many people struggle with self-trust because they haven't taken the time to truly know themselves. They might rely heavily on external validation, uncertain of their own worth or decision-making abilities, but self-trust comes from a deep familiarity with your own mind, body, and spirit. It means knowing who you are, not based on what others think of you or expect from you, but on your own self-reflection and experiences. By regularly checking in with yourself, assessing your feelings, thoughts, and desires, you build a foundation for self-trust that's rooted in self-knowledge rather than outside approval. Actions reveal a person's true priorities. We all have limited time, energy, and resources, and where we choose to spend them says everything about what we value. It's easy to talk about our priorities, to say that our family, friends, or goals are important to us, but do we show up for the people and causes we claim to care about? Do we make the necessary sacrifices? A person who says their family is their top priority but is never there when it counts reveals that their priorities might not be as they claim. Similarly, someone who says they value integrity but cuts corners or bends the truth when it suits them reveals where their values truly lie. Actions also have the power to build or erode trust over time. One small action may not seem like much, but actions accumulate. Each time we follow through, we build trust like adding bricks to a foundation. Conversely, each time we fail to act in alignment with our words, we chip away at that foundation. Even small actions can speak volumes. A simple gesture of kindness, a willingness to listen, a consistent follow-up on a commitment, all these small actions combine to form a picture of a reliable, trustworthy person. When we focus on actions, we're also compelled to look inward to examine whether our own actions align with our words. It's a call to live with integrity, to take ownership of our promises, and to ensure we're not just saying what sounds good, but doing what is right. Our actions are a reflection of our true character, and being conscious of this pushes us to live authentically, to keep our commitments, and to choose substance over image. The real beauty of actions is that they don't require fanfare. They don't need to be announced or broadcasted because they resonate deeply and speak for themselves. Genuine actions are quiet, powerful statements. They tell others you can count on me. They communicate loyalty, resilience, and authenticity in ways words never could. In a world where talk is cheap and promises are easily broken, actions are a form of honesty, a testament to what and who we genuinely care about. When all is said and done, it's our actions that define us. They're the legacy we leave, the impression we make, and the truth of our intentions. People may forget what we say, but they will remember how we made them feel and the actions we took. If we truly want to build meaningful connections, lasting trust, and a life of integrity, we must focus less on words and more on action. Because it's not our words, but our actions that leave an impact long after we're gone. Listening to your gut, your intuition, is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. It's an ancient wisdom built into our very biology, a deeply personal and often unexplainable sense that something feels right or off without logical evidence. It's not always rational or backed by facts, but intuition taps into a deeper understanding that bypasses conscious thought and goes straight to what we know instinctively. Learning to trust this inner voice can help you make better decisions, protect you from harm, and guide you toward people, opportunities, and paths that align with your true self. Intuition works quietly, often in the background. You might feel it as a subtle nudge, a whisper, or a faint sense of unease or excitement that you can't quite explain. This feeling emerges from a mix of experience, perception, and subconscious processing. Every encounter, every success and failure, every interaction feeds into a kind of inner database. Over time, your brain learns patterns that your conscious mind might not pick up on. When a situation arises that resonates with these learned patterns, your intuition kicks in, trying to steer you in the right direction based on what you've absorbed over years or even a lifetime. One of the biggest challenges with listening to your gut is that it can be drowned out by the noise of daily life, by other people's opinions, by our own self-doubt, and by a culture that often demands rational explanations for everything. Society teaches us to trust what's tangible, measurable, and scientifically valid, and that's valuable, but intuition doesn't fit neatly into this framework, so we're often conditioned to ignore it, to dismiss it as irrational or unproven. Yet time and again, people who trust their gut feelings find themselves making life-changing decisions that turn out to be exactly right for them, even if they couldn't justify those choices logically in the moment. Listening to your gut requires self-awareness and practice. It means taking a moment to step back, quieting the noise, and tuning in to what your body and mind are trying to tell you. This might involve paying attention to subtle physical cues, like a feeling of tension in your chest when something feels wrong, or a sense of calm and excitement when something feels right. Our bodies often react before our minds catch up, sending signals that something about a situation doesn't sit well with us, or alternatively, that it feels perfectly aligned. By learning to notice and interpret these physical sensations, you strengthen your connection to your intuition. At its core, intuition is about trusting yourself, trusting that you know what's best for you, even if you can't explain why. People who learn to rely on their gut often find that it guides them toward choices that are truer to who they are rather than what others expect of them. This doesn't mean ignoring logic or refusing to analyze situations, but rather incorporating intuition as another vital source of insight. For instance, you might be evaluating a job offer that seems perfect on paper, but your gut tells you something is off. In such cases, taking time to consider why you feel that way can reveal hidden factors or deeper concerns that may not be immediately obvious. Your gut is particularly useful in assessing people and relationships. While logic might tell you someone is trustworthy because they appear competent or have the right credentials, intuition often picks up on subtler cues like body language, tone, or inconsistencies in their behavior. This can help you identify people who genuinely care about your well-being versus those who may have hidden agendas. Sometimes you'll meet someone who seems kind and likable, but something just doesn't sit right. That feeling might be worth exploring, even if you can't immediately pinpoint the reason. People who ignore these feelings often regret it later, realizing that their gut sensed red flags they couldn't see logically. Listening to your gut doesn't guarantee an easy or straightforward path. In fact, following intuition can sometimes lead you into unfamiliar territory or choices that defy logic and practicality. You might feel compelled to take a chance on a new career, pursue a relationship that doesn't make sense to others, or move to a different city without any apparent reason. But when you honor your intuition, you align with what feels most authentic to you, making decisions that resonate deeply with who you are and what you value. This is a path that often leads to greater fulfillment, even if it doesn't always follow the conventional roadmap. To cultivate this skill, it helps to create space in your life for reflection and stillness. Our intuition speaks more clearly when we slow down, when we make time to listen. Meditation, journaling, or simply spending quiet time alone can strengthen your connection to this inner guidance. These practices allow you to clear away the clutter of daily stresses and tune into your own mind and body to feel what resonates and what doesn't. Over time, as you begin to act on your gut feelings and see the results, you build trust in this voice, reinforcing the knowledge that you can rely on it. In the end, intuition is a powerful form of self-respect. It's a commitment to honoring your inner truth, even when the world around you suggests otherwise. By listening to your gut, you create a life that's aligned with your deepest values, one that reflects not just who you are on the surface, but who you are at the core. When you trust this inner guidance, you begin to make choices that aren't just successful in conventional terms, but fulfilling on a deeply personal level. It's a journey of self-discovery and self-trust that leads to a life of purpose, alignment, and ultimately true happiness. Transparency and vulnerability are two of the most transformative qualities we can bring into our relationships, workplaces, and lives. They open the door to authentic connection, deeper trust, and meaningful growth. Together, they create an environment where people feel seen, understood, and valued, not just for their strengths, but for their whole selves. Embracing transparency and vulnerability isn't easy, but it's essential for building trust, for creating lasting bonds, and for cultivating an atmosphere where people feel safe to be themselves. Transparency is about openness and honesty. It's the willingness to communicate openly about your thoughts, feelings, and intentions, allowing others to see what's real. When we're transparent, we remove the layers of ambiguity that so often cloud relationships and cause misunderstandings. Transparency allows others to know where we stand, what we value, and what we hope to achieve. It's a form of respect, acknowledging that the people around us deserve clarity, that they're entitled to know the truth rather than some filtered or edited version of it. In a professional context, transparency is foundational for building strong teams and cultures of trust. Leaders who practice transparency set the tone for an open environment where information flows freely and people feel empowered to ask questions and share concerns. When leaders are transparent about their vision, goals, and even their struggles, they foster a culture where people feel connected to the organization's purpose. This openness shows employees that they're part of something real and that their leaders aren't hiding behind closed doors or sugarcoating realities. This sense of inclusivity and honesty creates loyalty and commitment, inspiring employees to contribute their best because they feel they're in the loop and valued as part of a shared mission. In personal relationships, transparency is equally essential. When we're honest about our feelings, needs, and boundaries, we create a foundation of trust that allows relationships to thrive. It can be tempting to withhold certain truths out of fear of conflict or rejection, but withholding only builds walls between people. Transparency invites others into your world, letting them see the complete picture of who you are. It doesn't mean you have to overshare or give away every detail, but it does mean being truthful about what matters, even when it's uncomfortable. This kind of openness helps others trust that they know the real you and that you're willing to be honest, even when it's hard. Vulnerability goes hand in hand with transparency, but requires even deeper courage. Vulnerability is the willingness to show our weaknesses, our fears, and the parts of ourselves we might prefer to hide. It's the courage to say, I don't have it all figured out, or I'm struggling. While society often equates vulnerability with weakness, it's actually one of the most powerful tools for building connection. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we give others permission to do the same. This opens the door to authentic, compassionate relationships where people can support each other in meaningful ways. Self-trust is not about believing you'll always get everything right. It's the confidence that no matter what happens, you can handle the outcome, learn from it, and move forward. This means releasing the fear of making mistakes. People who trust themselves aren't paralyzed by the fear of failure. Instead, they view setbacks as opportunities for growth. When you trust yourself, mistakes become part of the learning process rather than reasons to doubt your abilities. This approach builds resilience, showing you that even when things don't go as planned, you're capable of adapting and growing. Over time, each setback that you overcome reinforces your self-trust, proving that you're capable of handling life's challenges. Building self-trust also requires honoring your own feelings and intuition. Too often, people dismiss their gut instincts, second-guessing their inner voice in favor of what others say or think. But intuition is a powerful tool, an internal compass that often picks up on details and subtle signals that our conscious mind might miss. Learning to listen to and respect this voice is a vital part of self-trust. The more you act in alignment with your intuition, the stronger it becomes. You begin to recognize patterns, sense when something feels right or wrong, and trust your body's and mind's cues to guide you. This doesn't mean ignoring reason or logic, but integrating intuition with critical thinking to make well-rounded decisions that feel true to you. Another key to self-trust is setting and respecting your own boundaries. When you trust yourself, you're more likely to recognize and enforce what you're comfortable with and what you're not. Boundaries are a reflection of self-respect, communicating both to yourself and others what you will and won't accept. Often, people struggle with boundaries because they fear disappointing others, but trusting yourself means valuing your needs enough to set limits. When you consistently honor these limits, you reinforce your own sense of self-worth and trust, proving to yourself that your feelings and needs matter and that you won't abandon yourself for the sake of external approval. Consistency is crucial in building self-trust. This means following through on your commitments, whether they're promises to others or, more importantly, promises to yourself. When you set a goal or make a commitment and see it through, You build a track record that reinforces your reliability. This doesn't mean you can't adjust your goals if they no longer serve you, but when you consistently follow through on what you set out to do, you create a sense of stability within yourself. You become someone you can count on, someone who knows that they'll show up even when things get tough. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, big or small, you're strengthening the foundation of self-trust, proving that you have the discipline and commitment to stay true to your word. Learning to trust yourself also means accepting your own flaws and imperfections. Many people avoid self-trust because they're overly critical of themselves, constantly focusing on what they believe are their shortcomings or past failures. But true self-trust isn't about being perfect, it's about accepting that you're human with all the messiness and complexity that entails. When you learn to view yourself with compassion rather than criticism, you create a safe space within yourself, one where you're allowed to grow and evolve without judgment. This self-compassion fosters trust because you know that, even in your lowest moments, you won't turn against yourself. You'll be there to support, forgive, and encourage yourself. Taking ownership of your decisions is also a vital aspect of self-trust. It's about recognizing that ultimately you are responsible for the choices you make and the path you walk. This doesn't mean ignoring advice or rejecting feedback, but rather valuing your voice as the primary guide in your life. When you trust yourself, you're less likely to be swayed by others' opinions, even if they're well-intentioned. You become more comfortable standing by your decisions, knowing that they reflect your own values and beliefs. This ownership strengthens your confidence, showing you that you don't need to outsource your decisions to others to feel secure. It builds a stronger sense of autonomy and personal agency, empowering you to take bold steps in the direction you choose. Trusting yourself also involves practicing forgiveness. We all have moments when we look back and wish we'd done things differently. Maybe we made choices that didn't serve us or allowed self-doubt to cloud our judgment. But self-trust includes the ability to let go of these regrets, to learn from them without letting them define us. By forgiving ourselves, we allow for a fresh start, free from the baggage of past mistakes. This practice of self-forgiveness reinforces trust because it assures us that we'll be kind to ourselves, even in moments of imperfection, and that we're capable of growth and change. Self-trust is an ongoing journey, a commitment to show up for yourself each day. It's a quiet confidence that grows stronger with every choice, every risk taken, every boundary set, and every promise kept. When you truly trust yourself, you move through life with greater freedom, knowing that you're capable of handling whatever comes your way. You become more resilient to criticism, more immune to doubt, and less likely to seek validation outside of yourself. This self-reliance frees you to pursue your own unique path, one that aligns with your values, dreams, and purpose. In learning to trust yourself, you're not just building confidence, you're cultivating a relationship with yourself that will carry you through life's ups and downs. You become your own greatest ally, a source of unwavering support and guidance that no one can take from you. This foundation of self-trust becomes the launch pad for all other relationships and endeavors. When you trust yourself first, you're able to engage with others from a place of security, authenticity, and integrity, building connections that are both fulfilling and grounded. Self-trust is ultimately about embracing your own strength, potential, and worth. It's the realization that you have everything you need within you to navigate life's journey. That you're enough just as you are. And when you trust yourself, you unlock a world of possibilities, free to live fully, boldly, and in alignment with your true self. As we wrap up this journey of exploration into the dynamics of trust, it becomes clear that trust is not merely a word or concept. It is the very foundation upon which we build our relationships, our endeavors, and our lives. Trust begins within. It starts with you and your ability to trust yourself. When you cultivate self-trust, you gain the strength to make decisions grounded in your values, to listen to your intuition, and to set boundaries that protect your well-being. Yet self-trust is just the beginning. As we learn to evaluate the character and intentions of those around us, we develop a keen discernment that allows us to extend our trust wisely and thoughtfully. We guard against blind trust, understanding that true connection is built on authenticity and transparency. By valuing actions over mere words, we learn to hold ourselves and others accountable, nurturing relationships that thrive on honesty and vulnerability. Ultimately, trust is a journey that requires patience, reflection, and courage. It invites us to be vulnerable and open, but it also empowers us to stand firm in our convictions. When we trust ourselves, we create a ripple effect, inspiring those around us to do the same. We foster environments where genuine connection can flourish, where collaboration and support are the norm, and where growth becomes possible. So as you move forward, remember that trust is not something that is given or earned in a single moment. It is a living, breathing force that grows stronger through our choices, our actions, and our willingness to be real with ourselves and each other. Embrace the journey of trust within yourself and with those around you. By doing so, you will unlock the potential for deeper, more meaningful connections and a life lived with authenticity, purpose, and unwavering confidence. Thank you.